Right.
What is it with guys and their obsession with body counts, and what's your stand on the whole body
Oh
count shit?
man,
I knew it.
that's like one of my favorite subjects, body count and the looks and all. But yo, the body count is so hilarious because I always say that this is why I look at it is the whole body count argument. And for those who don't know, that's, people say like if a woman has a high body count, she's been dealing with a bunch of dudes that she can't bond to you in a relationship, and she's mentally messed up in the head and all that other stuff, right? Now, first of all, I always say what is too much? Because that's subjective. What is
Right.
Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 100? Is it 3? Is it 1? So a lot of guys, they have this mythical number in their head of, oh well, she had this much sex, then she's not going to be good wifey material and all the other stuff, right? But I always say that whole argument is a beta male argument. And the reason why it's a beta male argument is because only a beta male cares about the body count, because a beta male is usually living a lifestyle or a life where he's not the recipient of sex, a lot.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So a guy who's, and you could take, like I can say alpha, but you could use alpha, beta, Mac, loser, or player, lane, whatever. It's all the same thing, right? So a guy who's like the player, the guy who's the alpha, the guy who's more dominant, he's the recipient of the sex. He's having sex with all these women. So he understands that women love sex. He understands that women want to have it. And so his reality is women like to have sex all the time. So if his reality is women like to have sex all the time, he's not gonna think that a woman who's 28 years old has only a body count of 2. You know what I'm saying? Because his reality says that doesn't make any sense, because women are out here doing it.
Right.
But to a beta male, it's going to make sense for him to say a woman has a body count of 2. Why? Because most women are telling him, hey, I got to get to know you. I'm not the type of girl. Let's take this slow. That's his reality. So in his reality, the low body count of a woman makes sense because he thinks women are like that. Whereas they're like that to him, but to the other guy, they're having sex. Right. So a lot of these dudes don't realize that there is actually no correlation between a woman's body count and her ability to bond with a guy. They have all these pseudoscience and studies that say that, oh, well, if a woman had sex with this amount of guys, her happiness in a relationship, or she's not going to be able to have a marriage. That's all nonsense, because there's actually never been any specific scientific studies that actually show this. This is all stuff that, they've made up in little charts and graphs on random websites that don't even pertain to anything. There's actually no scientific studies. Like, for example, if there was to actually be a study about it, they would have to literally have a large group of women, follow these women since birth, and follow them 24 hours a day to accurately get the body count. Because you would need to monitor a woman 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for years to see how much guys she's actually had sex with. Right. And because you can't do that, what you would only have is women saying it on their own, through their own, mouth, which even with anonymous surveys, people still lie on anonymous surveys because they want to lie to themselves.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you're never going to find out. So I tell guys, listen, instead of worrying about that, all you need to think about is this woman I'm dealing with following my lead and being cooperative towards me and actually showing me respect? That's it. And the bonding aspect in a relationship only works if you and that woman are compatible and y'all actually have that chemistry between y'all two. Right. It doesn't make a difference who she had in the past or all that other stuff. The only thing that will happen is that if that woman that would make it hard for her to bond is if she's experienced a lot of trauma in her life. So that trauma could be the thing that makes her not bond, but it's not specifically to sex. So she could have sex
I feel the same
with
way.
A bunch of dudes, and and it would have been good, and she could have had a great life, and there won't be any of that trauma with the situation. So I could go all day on that shit. It's crazy.
Right? Yeah. Guys, she can't pair bond, and that's the dumbest. So she loses her ability to pair bond, right? Okay, so pair bond with who? Right? Pair bond with who? So if she have a kid, she just don't have the ability to bond no more. Like, she can't have friends that she bonds with and shit, right? Scientifically, we have hormones, right? Oxytocin. I don't know if you call it a hormone or whatever. Supposedly it's responsible for bonding, right? Well, sex isn't the only way to stimulate oxytocin producing in a woman. Trust,
Right.
physical touch, sharing a meal, like, you know, laughing together. So you mean to tell me that if she have sex with, like you say, what's the fucking number? She just loses, her body shuts down and stops producing this hormone.
Right, exactly.
It makes absolutely no fucking sense. It's like you said, it's a beta male. It's a thing it's a social construct to control women and control their purity, because we can't do it physically. If these niggas could like put guns to these hoes' heads and say, bitch, if you you gonna die, they'll do it. You see what I'm saying? If you get more than 2 bodies, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna stone you to death. If they had the option to do that, they will do it. But they can't, so you have to come up with ways to shame women.
Yeah, it's a shaming tactic, because what it is, basically what they'll say is, well, if you had sex with all these guys, I'm not gonna marry you. So what they do is they dangle the idea of long-term relationship over the woman's head to say, well, if you do all this, I'm not gonna wife you up. And usually those are the guys who are trying to wife up women and want to be the husband. So they're well, this is my power, so I'm gonna make sure you're not a wife if you're doing all these guys before me, because they don't like the fact that there's guys out there getting sex and they're not. That's all it really boils down to. It's like, I want to shame you and make sure you're not having sex, because I don't like the fact you're having sex with all these other guys and I gotta wait until you get older and want to settle down to be with me. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah, that shit is crazy. And I believe the marriage rate is so high because dudes are weak and they don't know how to keep a bitch in line, and so the bitch leaves.
Exactly.
Like, it ain't got nothing to do with sex. Now, I will say this: the more experience a person has, the more you have to be on your game, so to speak. So,
definitely.
You know, so if I was, it's just the same way on the other foot. If I was a virgin, a bitch would more than likely run all over me, right? Versus where I'm at now, my tolerance is, you know, I built up a tolerance for the game. I have boundaries now and shit like that. So women who have more partners tend to be, I don't want to say problematic in some instances. Like you say, if there's trauma associated, then yes. But you ain't gonna be able to, like, it's not as easy that, like, if let's say if she done fucked 10 rich before and they fucked her on boats and shit, it's not gonna be, you know, I mean, you can stand out, which is why, you know, your game should be to be unique and be yourself, right? Because you know, but guys get intimidated by that and say, well, if she fucked on an airplane and shit before, it's over for me. There's nothing else I can do.
Exactly.
And that's not, you know what I'm saying? And that's not necessarily true. So I just believe that the marriage rates are so high is because men are so weak, period. Like, this is, it just is what it is. So